Good
Hello,
morning.
hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it
I
going
have a
over
very
there?
special, I have a very special new mug to share today.
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
gorgeous?
Are you
I
sure
wish,
that's not mine?
look at
That
the
is so
bottom.
mine. There's an
Isn't
owl on the bottom. It's purple and it has mushrooms. I'm pretty sure that's my mug.
it could
Next time,
be.
next time I am in North Carolina, you better hide that away because I am going to come and steal it. Oh my God.
So
That's the
this is
best mug ever.
I love that in this area there's so much local artists. So I bought that at a local little store and it's all the everything that's inside is locally made. So we have a lot of artists in this area, including a lot of potters and things like that. So this particular one is a potter named Holly.
Holly,
And
I need one of those. Just tell me how to get it. Like that
well,
is so
and
me.
it's like totally unique too, because when I went and looked at the display, that was the only one like that. Like they're not mass produced, you know what I mean? So I'm like,
Holly, make
ooh,
another. Holly, I get me in contact with Holly. I
isn't
need
that
one of
beautiful? And
those.
it's a
That
nice
is,
little size. So
yeah, it looks perfect.
right. I love it. I love it. I
Uh,
love a mug.
yes. Well, and I'm here with my peacock mug. I love my peacock mug. And like as I was like choosing, I'm like, I really only have, I think, 4 mugs that I use for online purposes. And I'm like, I need something new. I need something new. But I don't know. I'm not really a shopper, so that's part of my problem.
See, I love wandering through gift shops. I think that especially, I don't know why, like in South Florida, I always loved going to the little holistic stores and the flowy stores and stuff like that. Here we have so many cute gift shop stores, and they all, believe it or not, because it's such a small town and everybody's literally on the same block, they all get together and they try and like really work well with each other. So rarely do you
Mhm.
find the same thing in every store. Like maybe I've seen one or two product overlaps, but generally every store has its own vibe and its own cool stuff. So you get to kind of just wander and take your time, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that. And then, of course, I
Nice.
pick up, 10 little things because I'm like, no, I don't want to spend money. I won't buy a big thing, but then I'll buy like 5 little things. It's just a little something. Um,
It's also because I'm in that like I'm definitely in the minimizing phase of my life. And so I purge and I get rid of things. And so when I accumulate something, and that's part of the reason I haven't gotten a new mug, is I haven't found one that I've just been in love with. So
right.
I'm like, if I'm not in love with it, I'm not getting it.
I will tell you that little things come into my life all the time. This one that I'm about to show you, I forgot what I ordered the other day. It was like a crystal or something. I forgot what I ordered. But look at this little guy. It's just a little piece of glass. Like it's a little glass. It's a little glass, I don't
Hermit
know,
crab.
whatever that is, hermit crab, yes. But now it's cute and I love it. And I can't, I mean, somebody made that. Look how adorable and detailed that is. I'm like, well, you live here now. So that goes right onto my desk. Now I will keep it forever.
Oh,
Actually, I used to have this tiny little ladybug. It was like literally like half this, like the size of a pencil eraser. And I
mm,
had it for, I don't know, 20 years. And somewhere in the move, it got lost. And it
it
still
went on
pains.
walkabout.
It still pains me. Yes. I'm like hoping that one day it'll show up somewhere. I'm trusting it's here somewhere. But I do miss that little guy.
So what always works for me when I'm looking for something is Archangel Chamuel is the finder of lost things. So ask Chamuel to bring the ladybug back to you and it will find its way. Although I will say crystals go on walkabout. And I've probably shared the story before on the podcast at some point over the last 275 last episodes. But I bought this piece of moldavite, and for those that know out there in the crystal world, like Moldavite is very special stone. It's very rare. It was created by a meteor hitting Earth, who knows when. And it kind of looks like green glass. And they're all like bumpy and funny looking. And but they're also known to be like very powerful, and like, they're always like, not everybody's ready for moldavite, and you got to be at a vibrating at a certain level to be able to handle the stone. So anyway, I got a piece. It was a little tiny, maybe an inch at the most, and I always kept it in the same spot. And one day I went to get it, and it wasn't there. And I'm like, well, did I leave it I mean, I scoured my entire house. This piece of moldavite was gone. Literally 4 years later, I'm doing laundry and I look down at the floor and it's sitting right in front of the washer. I'm like, there's just no way. No, so it went on walkabout, and when it decided it was time for me to have this moldavite, it came back. So
Incredible. I bet you $20 it hitched a ride on Merlin and he took it all over and brought it back. Who knows?
Merlin wasn't even with me then. I don't even think
No.
Merlin was born then.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay
Yeah.
open to all possibilities. But I do have some little projects coming up. I am got a recipe for some agua florida from a friend. So I'm going to make some of that hopefully today, if not today, tomorrow. So that's happening. And it dawned on me that I haven't had a chance to really do like a crystal grid slash, blessing on my property. Since we've been here, we've been like in this purgatory of, oh, let's finish this project and waiting for that project and waiting for this project and waiting for this and da da da. You know what I mean? And so I was like, you know what? This land needs a little love right now. So I got some big plans coming this week for that. So I'm excited about that.
I hope you're going to photographically what was that? And now I lost my word because I couldn't find photographically record the event so that we might all partake in the wondrousness of it.
Yeah, totally. And it's a perfect time of year because everything's nice and green and lush. So it feels good out there. It's very inviting. But I am having to, for the first time, think through all the weather that's coming, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever I put out there, I have to think about, is it going to survive fall? Is it going to survive winter? Is it going to survive the crazy windstorms that we get? So I'm having fun kind of plotting things out. I have a few trees that have like little I don't know, fairy portals, like they have like little holes in them. So I'm like, maybe I'll do that, so we'll see. It'll be exciting. But yes, I will document it and share it. It'll be fun.
I'm also excited to hear that you're making the agua florida. I have intentions of going forward, like making my own, but I bought a bunch, and so I'm like, I haven't been pushing myself to make mine because I need to use up what I have first before I make some. So
Totally.
I'm very impressed and curious to hear how the endeavor
Well,
goes.
so I was asking a friend of mine if there was a local resource, and she didn't have anything in particular, because there's not a lot of places like that here. But she happened to have some recipes, and I was like, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, I own like 95% of what goes in here. Like this is no effort at all, so I had to go buy a few little things, and so now I have it all, and I just gotta get it ready and put it out there. So I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Sunday we had Sweat Lodge again in the pouring rain once again.
Now, does it rain inside? Does it rain inside when that happens, or are the blankets thick enough?
No, because they're blankets. Like eventually it's soaked through, and then you're getting shower down on the inside, but that's okay. And that's not really what I want to share. What I want to share, two things about this. First of all, I completely did the fire by myself. Like that involves like, there's a very specific way that you make the fire. It's not just like starting a bonfire or whatever, but
Right. It's not a Girl
prayers are
Scout.
said, and
Mhm.
there is a ritual to creating the fire.
Mhm.
And then, so last time I was also invited to do this myself, and I did have one helper, this younger guy he was coming, and his intention is to learn everything he can learn about the sweat lodge. Um, but he was helping me, and so here I am doing the things like I'm supposed to do them, and that fire like almost died on us. Like I was so in panic mode, but with his help, his youth, and fanning the fire, like we finally like got it going and everything. But this time, so I like learned some lessons from that time that I brought over to this time when I was essentially completely on my own making this fire. And I made such an amazing like I was so proud of myself, and getting the rocks in there, and because like, there's that transition phase of you start the fire, and then you put the rocks on it, and then like you really have to build the fire. And so like that transition is the tricky part, because you can lose your
Right.
fire
Right.
once putting all the rocks on top of it. So but anyway, beautiful fire, and it was nice and sunny and everything. And um we all go into the sweat lodge, and we do introductions first, and then as soon as the drum beat for the first song, like I just felt like we were transported into another dimension, and I was like, what is this? This is not your ordinary sweat lodge.
Wow.
I could hear so many voices in there singing, way more than the number of people that we had in there. I had one other person confirm that they heard many extra voices singing as well. And then like I was like sitting there just sobbing, and I had no idea why. Like it wasn't coming up from like my sadness. It was just like pouring out of me. And I'm like, okay, whatever this is. And then so second door, I typically pour the water. And second door is when we pray for others. And um like I was feeling okay when we started, but like at the end of my door, I was like fading. Like I needed to get out of there. And so when we opened the door, I went like I crawled my way out, and I was just like laying on the ground. Like I was like, I'm gonna die. And
Fascinating.
it wasn't heat exhaustion or anything. It was just like this overwhelming, like I felt like I was gonna quote unquote get well, if you know what that means. And um and so I was just laying there, and I asked spirit, I'm like, what is this? And
Mm.
the answer that came back was blame. And like because inside the sweat, when we were praying, like we were just praying about all the awful things that are happening in the world. The um, we've got the everyone's calling it Alcatraz here in the Everglades that they're building, and something else that they're trying to build on sacred land that the natives are trying, protesting and trying to get that, and then between all the immigration issues that we're dealing with down here, and just one thing after another, but everybody like blaming the people that are causing this. And but me as a spiritual being, I understand that everything that exists outside of me exists within me, and like I need to take responsibility for those things, and I need to change those things. But not everybody's ready to hear that and embrace that. And but like as soon as so I was like, okay, if I'm feeling the blame from all of them, there's also blame here. And then like realizing like I blame them for not doing the work and getting to where they're supposed to be to create the change. And like then right after that, I felt like all the shame and guilt. And I was like, oh, that's why we blame others, because we can't handle shame and the guilt that goes along with taking the responsibility of that.
Mhm.
And so anyway, like it was just this giant emotional thing. And then I'm like, and why is this happening today? And then I can hear Chief inside, like talking to the people. And he's like explaining, like, Julietta built her first fire today. She is the fire of our sweat lodge today. And she is experiencing some difficulties because of the added energetic responsibility of doing that. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, that explains some things. And like also it's such a growth thing for me because for my, the past 30 years, I've handled processing other people's energy. And in my younger days, I used to struggle with that whole being an empath thing and feeling other people's pain, their physical pain, their emotional pain. And so, like, you learn techniques so that you don't take that on anymore. And like, just have this massive realization like, yeah, it's one thing to do that, one on one with people. It's another thing to do that in a ceremony with a lot of other people. And especially, like we do our ceremonies and stuff happens and like I'm okay with all of that. But this was definitely like next level. And I was like, okay, Julietta, time to up your game. So here we go.
That's incredibly powerful and such incredible lessons and awareness. I mean, I think every lesson that you learn is a lesson that I learn, and everything that I learn is, for someone else too. And I always say at our retreats, this retreat is just as much for me as it is for you. And there's um no separation between practitioner and receiver and guest and friends, and it's all the same. We're all in the same boat, to different extents
We're
and
all
to
one.
um different levels, but everybody has that, right? Everybody feels all of that. So I'm glad you shared your story. And yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. Just this morning, I saw this. I have it in my drawer. A friend of ours gave it to me. I'm going to put it up. I don't know if it's backwards on your screen, but spread love, heal
No,
the
it's
planet.
forwards. We see it right.
And at the end of the day, like that's it. That's the simplest message we could give. I was chatting with someone the other day, similar, like all the problems in the world, right? And we were trying to figure out like what's the bottom line? What's the answer? Do you know what I mean? And the answer is, what you always
Love.
talk about. You got to go back to love, right? If you loved the person that you think is opposite you, the person that you think is opposite to your belief system, if you just realize that everybody is your brother and your sister, and at some point everyone has been your mother, like you see the world differently. There's a lot of really huge problems in the world, and it is absolutely overwhelming to think about it all. I was telling my kids the other day, I saw someone point out that this is the first time in human history that our brains are being exposed and processing so much information in such a short amount of time, right? It used to be that you lived in your village and there was no other way of communicating. And so you just lived in your village, and the only thing that you knew was the things happening in your village, right? Like, yes, I think it's important to know what's happening in other parts of the world. I love being able to help people on the other side of the planet, and physically, intellectually, like it's a lot for your brain to process all of these things and have all of these emotions, and it's a lot. So when I can, I try and just turn some of that off and take a break, and again, just sit in love. That's really all I can do. Let
Yeah.
me rephrase. It's the best thing I can do. It's not the only thing, but it is
Yeah.
the best thing that I can do.
Yeah. No, and if you get my newsletter, the story is in the newsletter for everyone to read. But when, as I was sitting there in the all of that, and I asked Spirit, like, what is the solution? It was like, duh, love, compassion, kindness. And I was like, yeah, I knew that. I
Well,
didn't really need to ask that
like,
question.
yeah, but you know what, Julietta, like take it easy on yourself, right? Because it's the simplest answer and it's the hardest thing to do, right? It really is. How many times aren't we, bombarded by 50 reasons to hate somebody or something or some culture or some program or anything? Pick anything that you feel is a danger to you, and there is someone begging you to hate it. And how do you love what you hate, right? How do you do that? So um I keep telling the story of neutral. We have a mutual friend, T, who one time somebody asked her how she felt about something and she said neutral. And I was like, neutral? Is that an option? That's a thing? I can just feel neutral about stuff? I didn't know that was an option. And, our question for today, what's a powerful lesson you've learned from a mentor or guide? And I've been very lucky to just have had just the right people show up in my life at just the right time. And neutrality is one of those huge lessons, that changed my life, right? How can I be neutral in this situation? And my gosh, that has saved me so many times.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this topic before we started the show today, I go back so much to when I first started working as a PT. um, I I wanted to work at a specific hospital in town, and they offered me a position, but on the acute neuro floor. And I'm like, are they nuts? Like, that's where all the most fragile people are. And you're gonna put a new grad who doesn't know what they're doing on that floor to work. But I was like, you know what? This is where I want to work, and I'll just accept it, and maybe they'll realize she belongs someplace else. But I took the job, and um, two of the things they were like, so one of my professors from school also worked there part-time, and so she was kind of my mentor, but she wasn't there every day. But the occupational therapist on the floor, this woman named Jill, like this woman took me under her wing and just taught me so much bravery. It was like, I get to be brave for the patient. And like she I can't even fully put into words how much she impacted me just so early in my career. I know I would not be the therapist that I am today if it hadn't been for her. And yes, that bravery she taught me in that little pocket of acute neuro, which for people that don't know, acute neuro means people who just had strokes, brain injuries, spinal cord injuries. They're hooked up, there's tubes coming out of every orifice of their body, and and literally they could die if they do something wrong. So but her mentorship there, just, I believe, is what started putting me on the path to be brave and get out of the box and push the limits. And so I've even I had tried to I she's not an employee of the hospital anymore. I'm looking all over trying to find this woman. I found a woman with the same name, working at a certain office. I wrote a letter to her, I mailed it to her. I never heard anything back. And so I'm like, I don't know if she ever received that letter, but I hope in some way she receives the gratitude that I have for her, and I hope she understands what an impact she had on my life. So
Yeah, that's
that's my
beautiful.
mentor story.
That's beautiful. That's a good one. I tend to learn I always keep the little one sentence lessons that people tell me, because maybe it's because it's easy to repeat in my mind or whatnot, but I will tell you so many things that I heard 10, 20 years ago, still resonate to this day. When I used to work at my old law firm, we used to deal with some of the types of cases that you just talked about, actually. And so the law firm would have to invest literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of their own money into, preparing this case. And I would say to my boss, how can you do that? Aren't you terrified? And he said to me, don't look down, just keep climbing. Don't look down, just keep going. And I've had my business now almost 15 years. And I will tell you, every day I have to be like, don't look down, just keep going. Don't look back, don't look down, just keep going. That was a real good one. Another one was my friend Corinne, who was doing a self-discovery workshop type stuff. And she would come to the meetings and she would be like, guys, right up here, this is a bad neighborhood. Stay out of this neighborhood, teach me not to overthink, right? Teach me not to get caught up in my thoughts. That was another good one. When I was when I was newly single 100 years ago, and I had this woman who was probably in her 60s or 70s, said to me, she's like, Graciela, there's nobody standing behind you, writing down everything that you do. Go out, live your life. Don't worry about what anybody thinks. Have fun. And I was like, bam, in 1 second freed me, right? And I think that's why I read so much and why I like to highlight and like copy down good phrases, because sometimes it's just one sentence that just totally blows my mind open, right? Like so many years ago, T saying that she felt neutral. When I tell you that that blew a door open for me, I was just not raised in neutrality. I really didn't know that being neutral was an option. I thought, as a matter of fact, I probably would have thought that you were being apathetic. Like if something didn't move you, then something was wrong, right? Because I was raised very passionately in every sense of the word, and so yeah, I love a good. I love listening as much as I love talking. And I love reading, and I love hearing just those one sentence pieces that changes my life. So excuse me, that's a great question for our audience. What's a one liner that you take with you? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I see we have quite a few listeners today, so type your one-liners into the comments. We would absolutely love to hear them. And yeah, I every session that I have, with a client, ow, cat didn't like that. Merlin's like that. um, it's every single one of them. I learned something from that. I heal a piece of me, like while they're healing, and um, I think that's part of it is just staying open to learning. And um, if you ever get to that space where you think you know it all, you're in deep doo doo. So there's and so many times, like, yes, I'm there leading the session, and yes, a lot of good stuff comes out of my mouth during those sessions, but sometimes I am completely blown away by what comes out of the client, and what sometimes they're blown away by what comes out. All right, here we've got one. Ah, what's the root? Graciela
You're
always takes me out of the rabbit hole and helps me to focus my inner work, which has helped me heal in many ways, even the days I didn't want to hear it.
Oh, Vanessa, I love this girl. As a matter of fact, she is my heal the planet person. Woo! Thank you, Vanessa, for saying that. And the only reason I know to tell it to you is because I have to tell it to myself, right? Where does this come from? And it really is amazing the power of figuring out, where did this come from? Does this still hold true for me? I was chatting with someone just a while back, and we were laughing about what they eat for breakfast. And they love this like crazy, chaotic breakfast, like gas station burrito, something like that. And I was, I was like, that's really interesting. And this person was like, I would love to have healthy meals, but it just doesn't sit right. Like when I eat healthy, it doesn't sit right in my belly. And I said, that's interesting. When is the first time you remember um enjoying a chaotic meal like that? And this person went and told me a childhood story that just made so much sense. And I said, man, your body is comfortable in the chaos. And this person was like, that makes total sense. Right. So, like, even the little things of why we do things, or, whenever I refer people to you, Julietta, I always tell people, if you think, quote, this is just how I am, or I've always been this way, chances are you haven't. Like, go figure it out. Chances are you're not supposed to be, quote unquote, like that for the rest of your life. You've just never considered the alternative, you know?
What
So,
else is possible? Will this
mm,
matter in 5 minutes, 5 days, or 5 years? My dad would always ask me this throughout my adolescence and young adulthood. Helped me to see the situation not the mountain that I built, but something that I can get through. Yeah, that one's powerful for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
that one's a tough one for me as an overthinker because I think everything matters, and I can go back and tell you like some stupid shit I said when I was 11 that I still bothers me. Like, so I'm working on that one, Vanessa. I'm working on that one for me.
wow. I'm
Yeah.
like, the fact that you can remember stuff that you said when you're 11, I'm like,
Oh,
I,
I can. I promise you, I remember every ill I have ever cast upon anyone. Like every
ooh,
insensitive thing I said as a child, every stupid. It's just, I don't know if it's part of ADHD. I don't know if it's a trauma response. I don't know what it is, but whatever. I remember everything.
time to
Yeah.
let that shit go.
Well, I'm not telling you that like I cry about it like all the time, but I'm telling you that like I remember, and honestly, part of me feels responsible to remember, like there's a lot of awful shit happening in the world, and if we remembered how we got here in the first place, maybe we wouldn't do it again, right? So, I think there's some value in remembering the stupid things I've said, hopefully not to say them again. I mean, I'm 51 now. It's been 40 years, so I feel good. I feel good about it.
Oh man. So what I'm wondering is, does cacao taste better out of that mug?
Obviously. Every day's an adventure, Julietta. Every day. Every day.
Mm,
Like you can drink water out of a regular cup, but what if you drank water out of something made out of a horn? Wouldn't it be more delicious? Yes, it is. Look at that. Handcrafted. Somebody loved and cared enough to do that. My God.
beautiful,
Find the
beautiful.
magic. Absolutely.
So, unless you have something else that you want to share about mentorship or guide, uh, I do want to bring up, I think last week I, for the first time, like OD'd on cacao.
Oh no. What does that look like?
So because
Maybe
so
don't tell me.
I had back to back cacao
Hmm.
ceremonies. One was a private ceremony, and then the next day was the regular full moon ceremony. And both ceremonies, I had people say that they were coming and then not show up, which meant I had extra cacao at the end of the night, which used to make me really sad. And, now I've learned like I can just save that cacao and reheat it and have it in the morning. And so I have gratitude that I have extra cacao and I don't have to make cacao. I just have to reheat it the next day. But it's also ceremonial dose. And so on Wednesday, I had my morning dose and then I had evening ceremonial dose. And then because I had leftover the next morning, I had ceremonial dose. And then that evening, I had ceremonial dose. And then there was still leftovers. And the next day, I had more ceremonial dose. No, nothing bad happened, but I like,
You didn't have a silhouette altering experience?
no, I did not. No, I did not. I think the cacao has already done all of that to me that it's ever going to do. I think I'm clear and good to go. But but yes, like Saturday morning as I was drinking that cacao, I was actually like literally in the I don't even really want this morning. And I did actually like I didn't even finish what I had and I went and offered the rest of it to my mango tree.
I totally
Like that
get.
was like the first time ever I was like, I've had my fill of cacao.
Yeah, I will
So
tell you, sometimes I take breaks, because particularly that I like to drink cacao mindfully and not like I drink coffee like a savage. Like I will drink it. It's not a special mug situation. Like yes, I have cute mugs for coffee, but they're bigger because I drink more coffee than I drink cacao, right, volume wise. But it's a to-go thing, whatever. Rarely will you catch me having cacao to go because I try and be in the moment. And sometimes I just, I'm just not in the mood. I really have been trying to listen to my body a lot lately. And sometimes it's like today's not a cacao day, and that's okay. I have other things. So I understand that. What I do love about cacao, though, is the community aspect of it. I love how it brings people together. This Saturday, I'm hosting Cacao and Cards again, and it's always such a fun time, and it's such a great way to, just hang out and enjoy something meaningful that's not, based on alcohol or gossip or any of those devices. So that's one of my favorite things. I'm excited about that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. I feel like we have like 10 shows in one here. It was a
A
lot.
lot a lot's gone on. A lot's gone on.
Yes, yes. So, unless you got anything else, should we call it a wrap?
Let's call it a wrap. There's always more, but we'll save some for next week.
All right. Sounds great.